We help you make better decisions and live with fewer regrets. I'm Andy Stanley, and I'll be your guide. And today we're talking about the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, our narratives. Remember your high school narrative? My parents are such idiots. School's such a waste of time. And then you grew up and you realized, my parents aren't idiots, and school was definitely not a waste of time. But as adults, we tell ourselves similar things. They don't care. It doesn't matter. It won't make any difference. Or how about this one? I don't do exercise, right? The problem with these narratives is that they become excuses and they set us up to become our own worst enemies. So let's stop with all the false narratives. And today I'll tell you how right here on Your Move. Isn't it strange? I don't know if you ever think about this, but because I have to talk all the time, I have to think of things people aren't thinking about so I can make you think about it. So I'll have something to talk about. That's kind of my life, basically. But isn't it strange how we talk to ourselves? Because we all do this, right? We have conversations with ourselves. It's like there's two of us in there, sometimes three. If you have four, I don't really want to meet you. But anyway, these conversations that we have with ourselves, eventually we get down to this really, really big question that we all wrestle with. And this question is why? And here's what we do. Something happens and we think, why did that happen? Then we go to work trying to figure out why it happened. And why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did this happen rather than that? And this is what I thought would happen, but this happened. And you can't help it. This is so human nature. We have this extraordinary habit, this inclination to impose a reason on randomness. We impose a reason on it. Something happens that doesn't make sense, and our minds just go to work trying to make sense out of randomness. And what we do is we create a narrative. We create our own narrative to make sense of things, right? We create a narrative to make sense of things. In fact, the worse the incident and the more personal the incident, the harder you work and the harder I work to make sense out of that. Because what's undeniable, regardless of your worldview, what's undeniable is that we create and often abide by our self-imposed narratives, whether they are accurate or not, whether they reflect reality or not. And this can be a problem. This can be a problem. In fact, this can lead you, as you have already experienced in your life. This isn't going to be new. I'm just going to put words around something you've already experienced. This can lead you to become your own worst enemy. So today we are in part 2 of our series. If you were here last time, you already know this, how not to be your own worst enemy. Now,
and good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, CJ. Good evening, Lady Purvis. It's so good to see everybody. We are on week 4. Let me open this up just a little bit. Let me add this to the So we are on week 4. We have one more week left. These are my new days, Sunday and Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm so glad to see you all. This month, I've been talking about bad habits and how we can break them, basically. All right, so we're going to move this along. This is an open forum, guys, and this is Counsel of the Day with Shanrae. I'm Shanrae. This is an open forum. If you have any questions, I will go on and feel free to ask them. I will pause and I will answer them to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I will research it and get back to you. If you have any life experiences that you don't mind sharing, once again, I will pause and I will highlight those life experiences and we're going to move them along. All righty then. How's watching with you? Okay, thank you. Okay, CJ said the house are watching, Potter's house are watching. Okay, all righty then. So let's move this along because this 30-minute platform, it moves very quickly. I am a degree counselor and I've acquired my degrees from Ashford University. This is my bio. I'm not going to read it because for the sake of time, I'm not going to read it. But I did acquire dual degrees from Ashford University in organizational management and in psychology. All right, so let me read my website counsel disclaimer, and we're gonna move this along. Let me open this up just a little bit so you can see it, and then I'm gonna go on and close it back. But the disclaimer says, please be aware that due to the nature of the technology that I'm using, there can be no assurance of confidentiality when using this online service. Should also be noted that due to changes in policies, all replies are to be used as advisory and informational only, and will not constitute an official determination. Information provided by myself or other counselors are subject to limitations of current and available material, but the final responsibility relies with you, the individual. Information online is designed to be helpful. However, this information does change frequently, and it is recommended that you consult another consultant, another physician, another specialist, or a religious leader to aid you in your overall behavioral wellness. All right. So the next thing is I am a Christian counselor. So this is my scripture for the month. And it's from Philippians 4 and 13. It's a very familiar passage, but I stand on this. I live by this. And it says that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's with everything straight across the board. All right, so let's move this along because, again, I have different subtopics for the month. So I've been basically speaking about bad habits and how we can break them, counteract them. But tonight, this week, I've been talking about bad habits are easy, good habits are hard. Okay, and so here it says why bad habits are easy and good habits are hard. All right, so let's open up these key points a little bit and then I'm going to close this back up. These are the key points that I'm going to be talking about this evening. Number one, it says convert the pain of your bad habits into possibilities. Number two says learning from the discomfort of bad habits helps you make healthy changes or healthier changes. Number three is the summary. Number four is want suffering. And that's actually a question. Want suffering? Okay. And then number five is a lesson from organic gardeners. Number six is mindful attention. Number seven is our takeaway. All right. So let's move this along. All right, let's go to our definitions. Let me open it and I'm going to close it just a little bit. So the definitions for this week is number one is the main one, habit. The one that I chose is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So that's habit. Hey, Nathaniel, how are you? I'm doing fine. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. And then two, the second definition that I've chosen is reinforced. So reinforcement is, and I chose the transitive verb. It says if something reinforces a feeling, situation, or process, it makes stronger or more intense. So something that reinforces or that confirms the feelings that you're getting when you're making during a situation, during a process. In this here, it makes whatever that feeling is, it makes your actions stronger or more intense. All right, so our next thing, let me open this up just a little bit. So convert the pain of your bad habits into possibilities. All right, so let me my paperwork. Learning from the discomfort of bad habits help you make healthy changes. In layman's terms, embarrassment. Being embarrassed helps you make healthier choices or better choices. Now, embarrassment, a lot of times, that is what it's designed to do. To help you, if whenever you're embarrassed, you should learn from that and know not to do that again. That's what embarrassment is that's the tool that it is. Okay. So, and this teaching on tonight is Dr. Mitch Ablett. Abblet, and he has a PhD. He's a long-term theorist psychologist, but Dr. Mitch Ablett. All right, so let's go over our summary. And again, If you have any questions or any scenarios, feel free, and I will stop, I will pause, and I will give light and attention to it. So our summary, let's open this up just a little bit. And I'm going to close it up just a little bit. Okay, so the pain of our bad habits is where the action of real changes lie. Again, the pain of our bad habits or the embarrassment from our bad habits are where the actions of real changes begin or lie. Our brain forms bad habits to deflect discomfort, okay, and bring pleasure. So it is short-sighted and can't see the goals, our goals. But true habit change requires going beyond willpower and positivity to updating your brain's sense of the payout and cost of your habits. So aspirational memes and motivational quotes and cataphrases abound online. So when it comes to breaking bad habits of reaction to suffering, it can certainly feel good to get a quick dose of positivity. All right. I don't know if you remember. I can give you a personal. I like to do personal scenarios with me. Growing up, and I'm a New Yorker, native New Yorker, born and raised in New York, and I migrated down to Georgia when my husband and I had our baby, and we said we were going to raise our kids down south. But New Yorkers, everything is fast paced. So, and it's the city that never sleeps, sure enough. So, a lot of people are up all night long and then they sleep during the daytime. Most people do. And so, I learned how to be more organized and more strategic when I moved down south. And I learned that I had to learn how to slow down and how to plan and to strategize. But growing up, and being a singer my entire life, y'all know I wear different hats. Being a singer my entire life, I remember being booked, and my sisters and we had to do some concerts. We hired out to do concerts out in Boston. And so we drove to Boston. My mom drove us to Boston, got there. We were late because that's norm. That's the norm with New Yorkers. We were late when we got there. It was a theater full of people waiting to hear us sing. When we got there, we were not prepared. We didn't have stockings or knee highs, and we had to get there and get showered up and changed and stuff, which made us even later. So the person that booked us out, I will never forget. They got up and he made a point out of it. He was like, not only were we hired out and they paid us and everything, but we got there late, which showed a lack of gratitude. And then when we got there, we had to find some place to go buy stockings and everything. And again, we were young. My sister and I, we were young, very young. But I was humiliated. When the man got up, when he got up and said that, I was humiliated. And even at that time, I learned how to make sure I had my stockings. I had everything I needed ahead of time. And I would be pushing. We got to get there. We got to get there. Because I didn't ever want to be embarrassed again. This is what this is about. This tool here, the tool of embarrassment. All right. Again, it says when it comes to breaking bad habits of reaction to suffering, it can certainly feel good to get a quick dose of positivity. So the positivity that came out of this with me was learning from that embarrassment and making sure that I was prepared, at least that way, with having my stockings and everything ahead of time, have everything packed and ready to go. When I get there, I can just go on and shower, dress, and go on and be to the stadium or wherever I'm going to sing ahead of time. All right. So Dr. Ablett says, personally, when he turned 50 years old, there were moments of joy and sharing with his family and friends. And then there was also moments of suffering, is what he was saying. The suffering was the result of a habit of repeating and fixating on thought stories of expectation for how squarely his midlife status. And what he rediscovered and have known professionally in his work for many years is that aspirational jolts of positivity are not enough. This is what the doctor is saying, Dr. Ablett. Bad habits like this must be felt for what they cost. So what they take. Only when you're willing to hold on to the hat, he said his hat, and look squarely at what my unskillful habits take from me and from other people, the compound interest of suffering that they incur is a willingness to do the work to change, implement change. So what Dr. Ablett was saying is that people were making jokes about him during his 50th birthday celebration, and they talked about his undeveloped areas in his life. And it was embarrassing enough, because it wasn't just embarrassing for him, what he was saying happened. It was also embarrassing with his family, his wife, his children. And so he looked at how embarrassed they were. Also, not just him, but how they was embarrassed because of his lack or his underdevelopment. And that was the fuel that he needed to help him change for the better. So it says, only when you feel the pain of unskillful habit of thought fixation without flinching, you can take an honest stock of the poor payout of continuing to sign up for bad habits. Only with courageous clarity can people see that while such habits may give moments of relief, certainty, or control, they ultimately rob people of being present and enjoying what they have. The cost of such habits also include the missing out of opportunities, nuances of meaning, solution, and the creation that tend to nestle into these here and now moments. So here is the question that the doctor is asking, and I'm going to move this along because I haven't been moving my slides. I've just been talking. All right, so I'm going to open this up a little bit. The question is, oh, that is really, really small. Let me go back. The question is, do you want suffering? If so, then continue doing the following. And he really, really opens this up about if you want to live a life of suffering. Number one, he says fixating on unrealistic stories of expectations. That's one. Two, blaming oneself or blaming other people every time you do the same thing over and over again. Number three, wondering why me or why this. That's that victim, y'all. That's that victim. Number four, worrying. Worrying comes along with practicing bad habits, worrying about stuff that really it's unnecessary to worry about if you make sure you put plans in order. Doubting oneself is another thing. Avoidance is another one. Self-medicating discomfort. You smoking weed, you drinking, you doing whatever that's gonna make you feel better. You know, what'll help you deal with yourself. These type of things. Catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is another thing. Escalating is another thing he talks about. Holding that grudge is another. Harboring resentment. All of this comes along with practicing bad habits. Heaping shame on oneself or other people. Saying one thing and meaning wanting another thing. So you saying one thing, but you really feeling another way. You meaning something else. You meaning to say something different, or you wanting something else. Okay, dominating or controlling other people, lecturing or having to be right in your wrong. I said last night, a good tool to use if you find yourself constantly repeating the same habits is say to yourself, "I gotta right this wrong." That's a good tool to use. I'm going to right this wrong. This was wrong what I did, so I need to right it. I need to make this right. That's a great tool, you know. And withdrawing, pulling back from stuff. These are all things, as Dr. Ablett was saying. His question is, do you want suffering for the rest of your life? You want to continue to suffer? And this is what he said. If so, this is the life to expect. Okay, these different things that I just said. He said, obviously, it's just a short list of a whole lot more of things that you can play out short term, like for habit defensing against discomfort, and then create heaping helpings of more suffering in long terms, in a long run. But these were just a few things. The Potter's House, Lady Purvis said, I'm going to right this wrong. Hey, That is a great tool to use to help yourself. Oh my gosh, I did this again. This was a habit form, and I did this again, and because I did it, I did wrong. This was wrong. So I got to turn and listen. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. You say to myself, I need to right this wrong, and I need to right this wrong right now. That's a great tool to use to help you to overcome, to change, or to put a good habits in place of a negative habit. So let's move on to a lesson from organic gardeners. All right, because our time is moving by very, very quickly. Let's see if we can see this. A lesson from organic gardeners. All right, organic gardeners have something important figured out. Okay, they know the importance of aligning their efforts with how things actually change and grow in nature. They don't force the sprouting of wonderful fruits, vegetables, and flowers. The greatest organic gardeners know that the best outcomes happen when you patiently and diligently show up consistently to the change principles that actually work. One of those natural principles is to use nature itself as the best fertilizer of what you want to grow. Okay, let me move this along. And I'm gonna open this up. Okay. All right. So Dr. Ablett says, that's right. He said nature's fertilizer, organic garbage, composted waste, and sometimes crap itself. Compost contains the best nutrients for seeds to spark to life and to grow. All right, compost. All right. Number two, he says that you can do the same with the bad habits that you want to break and the new ones that you want to sprout up. It starts with getting clarity on what your bad, unskillful habits are, and then pausing to reflect deeply as to how these habits are affecting you and your life. All right. So again, it starts with clarity on what your bad and unskillful habits are, and then pausing to reflect on them deeply. Okay, and then this is how these habits are affecting you. Start thinking about how these habits have been affecting you in your life. All right. So Dr. Ablett talks about how Dr. Judd Brewer, in his selling book Unwinding Anxiety, he summarizes the research on how your brain maintains bad habits because the human brain is wired to put habits on autopilot. Okay, and we know that that's true. People, let's just talk about some little similar habits: cursing, smoking, lying, different things like that. It's on. It's like it just happens. Like just uncontrollably just happens, right? Okay, let me move up here. I'm sorry. So Dr. Judd summarizes this research. Okay, and habits are especially likely to take cable length in your brain. If they give you a quick exit ramp from emotional or physical discomfort or snag up some pleasurable resources. All right. So then Dr. Judd said that when you try to break bad habits, you and most of us, it's all of us, tend to launch too quickly toward achieving grand results based on positive thinking and willpower. Brewer and others' research is clear that rainbow thoughts and unicorn horn pointed willpower don't work very well. Your motivation starts to fizzle down. New habits change efforts, and your efforts do fade. Another New Year's arrive, and you re-enlist in the same positivity willpower charade. Okay, so hey Esther, how you doing? Okay, so let's move on to what mindful attention. Dr. Ablett is going back to a theory that's called mindful attention. Okay, and let's open this up. Mindful attention. Okay. So it says it's time for people to you considered organic gardening. It's time for you to start considering organic gardening your bad habits. So it's much more consistent with the research and the principles of organic gardening. All right. So for you to bring time and mindful attention to the feelings, the sensations and the emotions that come up for you during your bad habits. Hey, Esther. Um, and what he's saying is, pay attention. Start thinking about how you feel when you do the same bad habit over and over again. And then if you're dealing with people and then they call you out on it, they're like, oh, here we go again. More excuses. Oh my God, it's always somebody else's fault. What Dr. Ablett and Dr. Brewer is saying is pay attention. Pay attention to this, to the feelings and sensations and the emotions that come up for you during these repetitive bad habits. Okay, think about how you feel. Think about how you make other people feel. Think every time you practice a bad habit. Okay, so mindful contemplation of what actually happens in your thoughts, bodily sensations, and your behavior and the results of these loops, because it's a constant cycle. It's a cycle, it's a loop. It's like over, here we go again, here we go again, or habits bring your leads, or habits bring you leads your brain out of the habit loop knot. Okay, so what Dr. Ablett is saying is, if you think about how often you perform the bad habits, he wants you to think about how it makes you feel when people are rejecting the things that you're doing, and how the people are shunning away from you, because it is a repetitive cycle. It's a loop of you constantly doing stuff. And like the Dr. Who was Dr. Rutledge? I talked about him last night. Dr. Rutledge talked about how people start shying away from you, because people, when these poor habits that you practice all the time, loop, 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 every time you practice this, it not just involves you, it involves the people that are connected to you. Going back to what Dr. Ablett talked about at his 50th birthday party a little bit earlier, he said that people were sitting there joking about him, his weaker areas. And after a while, he started feeling bad, but he realized he wasn't the only one feeling bad. His wife and his children were feeling bad too, because what people were saying, they were poking fun at him, but it was the truth. It was the truth. And how people had so many different stories about how he did this and with the weaker area in his life, how he did this, and it made him and his family feel bad. Hey, loving daughter, how are you? Hi, Kim, how are you? Loving daughter said, I missed part one. Is there a recording of part one that I can watch? Yes, you can go to my YouTube channel at Shanrae Price, like, share, and subscribe. Go down and look through it. You'll see part one, which was last night. You can watch part one, and then this is on tonight. So thank you for asking that, loving daughter. Thank you. All right. So Dr. Ablett was saying, he was talking about these loops or these habits that you constantly are doing. So mindfully feeling the results of your bad habits without tipping over into the shame and the blame game. Again, shame, you're feeling shame, so you start pulling away, or you blaming everybody. It's always somebody else's fault. It's either one or the other, rather than fixing the actual or putting adding in a better habit to help you take away from that negative habit. Loving daughter says, doing well, family. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, I'm glad to hear you okay. All right, so mindfully feeling results of your bad habits without tipping over into shame or blame allows your brain to snap out of its habit autopilot trance and then update its assessment of how rewarding these habits actually are. So only awareness leads to change. So again, it goes back to clarity, and then you have to see things for what they are. Only being aware of your bad habits that's the first step in change with anything. If alcohol's not the people that are alcoholics, when they go to Alcoholic Anonymous, you got to first own up to the fact that you're an alcoholic. That's the only way change is going to happen. You can't go to Alcoholic Anonymous and you're the only one that's not an alcoholic, but everybody else in the group is. You'll never change. Okay, sex addiction. You can't go to a sex addiction group and say that you're not sex addicted, and then you get in there, you turning out other people who's trying to change. And that's a reality, guys. That is a reality. It's funny, but it's a reality. A change begins with awareness. You have to be aware of what the negative habit is. Then you have to make up in your mind. What is it worth me? Is this worth me repeating, being embarrassed, being hurting other people, or can you literally change? And we talked about this last night with Dr. Rutledge. If you get to the point where there's a habit that you constantly repeat and then you can't change, then it is time to seek a professional help. Esther Williams said, however, we all have flaws, but in order for healing to come, for the issue at hand is to first admit that there is an issue, hold on, miss issue, then make up your mind to change. And she said, God is able if you are. Loving Daughter says, what if the person cannot see it for themselves and refuse to hear the truth from anyone? Then they're not ready to change. That's just the bottom line. Because the only way, again, change occurs when you realize that there is an issue. If the person if they feel like they're not the issue, then they're never going to change. And there is absolutely nothing that anybody, not mama, daddy, husband, wife, no child, sister, brother, nobody can help a person that does not realize that there is an issue. And so once they get to the point, once the negative effects of their poor choices, their poor habits, once they get down, what they say, to the bottom, you hit bottom, that's when most people realize, you know what, I need to change something. Now, there's a handful of people that will die out just the way that they are. And unfortunately, that's their loss. Okay, and Potter's House, Lady Purvis said that's the truth. Some people will just die out being the way that they are, which is a huge loss, because life, that's why our scripture for the month is, I can do all things through Christ. Life is a gift, but life is also what you make it. Life, if your life can be just full and joyful and happy if you make it that way. But and everybody has poor habits, but everybody can overcome and grow and become better. You're supposed to. We don't start out. We're not born knowing everything. But to whom much is given, much is required. When you learn more, when you learn better, we're to do better. But if you feel like, honestly, if you feel like what a loving daughter said, understood, thank you. And listen, all you can do is just pray and just keep moving along. Yes, especially when somebody's close to us. If a person refuses to own up to their flaws, there is nothing we can do. You pray for them, but you do not allow your quality of life to diminish because someone else someone else is okay with living a life of hard flaws or unnecessary whatever. Let me see. Esther said some are comfortable being in error because sin feels good to most often. And let me tell you, as a Christian, yes, sin do feel good for a short time. Oh, but when it catch up to you, when that sin catches up to you, most people can't live with themselves. And Esther, you've heard this because you come out of grandpa said, my grandfather's church, full gospel. Grandpa used to always have us say, I have to live with myself and the things that I've done. And I don't want to come to the setting sun and hate myself for the things that I've done. Then he would add, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Esther, do you remember that? And we grew up saying that I have to live with myself and the things that I've done. I don't want to come to the setting sun and hate myself for the things that I've done. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Esther remembers that. I know you do. That's right. Esther said, times people don't want to change until affliction comes. Oh yeah, until they have to change. That's right. So, And she said, hallelujah. Hi, Sister Charlotte. How are you? Okay, so and I'm almost finished, guys. And I thank you so much for your input, because it is what loving daughter, that's my cousin. That's my cousin over. That's from my husband's side, but that's our family too. Loving daughter, like I said, keep praying for the person. If they don't want to change, God can do what we can't do. He can do what we can't do, but do not allow your life to diminish or your life to be affected with over some, it doesn't matter who they are. Someone who doesn't see their ever in life, pray for them, but keep it moving. Do not allow your life to go down because somebody else refuses to come up. Okay? Everything is a choice. But if they don't see their flaws, then they can live with it. You don't have to. They will have to live with it. Okay. Prada's house, she said, I love it. Loving daughter said, I find that some people prefer to permanently live in their pain, not sin, but the pain of life. Pain and sin is almost similar depending on the pain, because there's growing pains and then there's self-inflicted pain. And yes, there are a lot of people, because they're victim minded. And see, everything starts in your mind. And this is what these doctors have been talking about. These theorists who I've been highlighting, this is what they're talking about. It first starts clarity in your mind. Okay, and we're Christians. Most of us are Christians on here. And so I'm a Christian believer. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. So, and we know the rest of that. I've met people that are not Christians, but they have a made up mind that they want to live a better life. So it just depends on the person. If you are not there, if you don't have the mindset to where you want to change, it is what it is. Then they all right with living in their whatever, and they will constantly keep living them loops. What we were talking about, them cycles, them loops. Keep living in that. Everywhere that they can move to different states, they still gonna live in that same loop. You can go to a different church, you still gonna live that same thing. You can jump from relationship to relationship, and it's still gonna end the same way. And as long as you keep blaming other people or pulling back or whatever, and rather than changing your mindset and saying, I can do things better. I can do all things. I can do things better. It starts in your mind. Esther said, be encouraged to know that if God can't change them, nobody can. And listen, and then loving daughter said, right, God can change anybody, guys. The Lord can change anybody, but he's not that other dude. He's not going to force change on us. It's called free will. God gives us the might and the power to change. That's that scripture. I can do all things. The Lord gives us strength and might to change anything, any situation in our lives. But what God will not do is he won't force it on you. He won't make you change if you don't want to change. Again, that's that mindset. The other dude, Satan, when people, they give themselves to Satan and they turn their souls over to him, he's the one that forces his people to do whatever. That's the difference. Satan, he takes your free will. But God, everything is a free will. If you want it, you want it. If you don't, you don't. But he's still there. He still loves you. And it's still there. Change is still there. Loving daughter said, right. All right. So Dr. Ablett was saying, Loving daughter said exactly. There comes a time when we have to, with the help of God, to take control and turn the pain into something positive. Yes, this is why I give back 4 times a year for 1 month. I do it every 3 months because I'm an optimist. I look at the glass half full, not half empty. And I know that everybody can overcome their situations. Some may take a little longer than others. Some, change may take a little longer than others. But yes, everybody can change. You can change for the better. This is why I do this, to give different strategies, to do this online counseling every 4 times a year. Because listen, we're here to help one another. We're helpers of one another. So this is my way of helping. And you're right. Okay, Esther said you have to choose this day who you're going to serve. Can't have both. You're right. You're absolutely right. And even with this, a mindset changing. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to smoke anymore. I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm not going to take drugs anymore. I'm not going to have sex. I'm not going to have sex, but be addicted to sex. And I'm not going to lie anymore. Everything starts here. It starts in your mind. Okay. It started. What? Let me see. Okay. It does. So Dr. Ablett was saying, um habits are actually rewarding. He was saying, and these are good ones and bad ones too, because that's where bullying and all this stuff comes in. Okay, so only awareness leads to change. Again, only awareness. When you're aware of how these bad habits are affecting you and other people, that is the only way people are going to change. It starts in your mind. Awareness. Thinking, willing, or believing won't just cut it. It won't just stop these habits. You have to be aware of the situation, and then you have to start putting in replacing good habits with these bad habits. You replace the good habits with the bad habit. This is where, and you keep working on it. Keep working on it. This is where change comes in at. So Dr. Ablett said, Loving Daughter says, she says, as long as we are blessed with life, we have possibilities. She's right. And she says she wakes up each day thankful of a day filled with possibilities. And you're right, because every day is a new start. Every day is a fresh start. And we can decide every new day, we can decide, you know what? I'm going to do things better. I'm going to do things different on this day. So, Loving Daughter, you are absolutely right. Dr. Ablett says that today he wants, this is an assignment he gave. Try sitting down, reflecting, or even journaling, or just breathe. Do some mindful breathing through the discomfort of your clear inner acknowledgments of the cost incurred by one of your own less than ideal habits. I like the way he put that. Less than ideal habits. Okay. Breathe, feel, and ask, what does this habit give and what does it take? So what does it give to people by me doing this poor habit? And then what did this habit take away? So I'm gonna say this again. This is a great exercise that I want to leave with everybody. Try sitting down. I don't or start out in the day with it or in your day with it. Try sitting down and reflecting or writing, journaling, or just meditating and breathing. But when you're doing this, think about the cost of the habit, maybe your poor habits. Think about, how does it, what does it give to other people by you doing this? Like if you're a liar, if somebody struggles with lying, not being not truthful, what does that give to other people by you being a liar? And then ask the second question, and what does it take away from you and other people by being a liar? And so if we can start again rethinking, thinking about different things like that. What is it? How does it help? Or it's easier to say, how does this help somebody by me lying? How does this help me by being a liar? Okay, and if we can start reflecting on stuff, take 5 minutes out of your day and reflect on things that you do. That's a start. Again, everything starts up here in your mind. And then start thinking, how can I replace this negative habit with a positive one? And I'm telling you, the more mindful you are about the things that we do, the more mindful we are about the things that we do. And if we're mindful, that's the first step to change. Because when you think about stuff, then you can start thinking about, how can I do these things differently? How can I do? Esther said, every day we're blessed to open our eyes. Grace and mercy is renewed, and we are overcomers. Yes, we are. You are absolutely right, Esther. You're absolutely right. So, if you want to learn more about habit decluttering, this is Dr. Ablett. He said, we can find free resources. I'm going to drop the resources when I finish. I'm going to drop them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop them in here after the show is over with, and y'all can come back because there's a link. There's a website that you can go to, and it'll give you some extra tools or maybe helping you. Like for instance, because bad habit is bad habit. Procrastination is bad habit. Maybe you want to be a little bit more strategic, a little bit more organized. And these are tools here that can help you with any weaker area in your life. Okay, Esther said, by our testimony. Exactly. So I want to leave you all with a takeaway. I really, and let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, and I don't know why this music sign is still here, but y'all know I'm a musician as well. Okay, so the takeaway says that a change in bad habits leads to a change in life. And this is by Jenny Craig. This Jenny Craig is the one who quoted this. It says a change in bad habits leads to a change in life. And Jenny Craig is the one who quoted that. I love that when I saw that. So remember, a change in your bad habits leads to a change, and I'm going to say for the better in your life. Jenny Craig is the one who quoted that. So I'm so glad that to have you all on tonight. This is my theory websites where I got all my long-term studies from. Let me move this along. All right, so and loving daughter, and so you all can see this for yourself. All right. So if there is a past Counsel of the Day with Shanrae series that you've missed or you just want to rewatch, you can go to my YouTube channel at Shanrae Price. Please like, share, and subscribe, and then select any past series that you would like to watch. They're all there on my YouTube channel. All right. So this is I am a professional one-on-one counselor, and I do offer, if you're interested in professional one-on-one counseling services, feel free to contact me via Facebook Messenger at Shanrae Price or via my email at shanraeprice@gmail.com. I'm a lifestyle strategist, and my aim is to aid you in your overall behavioral wellness and your life goals and your life dreams. I want to thank you. Let me open this up for participating with Counsel Day with Shanrae this evening. We have one more week, and that's this coming Sunday and Monday. So I believe that's the 28th and the 29th. Sunday the 28th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday the 29th. What I say? Sunday the 28th, Monday the 29th is our final week for August. And that's week 5. And I'll be talking about a different subtopic under bad habits. I'll see you all next Sunday and Monday night, 9 p.m. to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then after next week, next time you'll see me is in November, for the month of November. That will be the last time in 2022 that I will be doing my Counsel of the Day with Shanrae. Thank you. Thank you, Potter's House. And I will see you all next Sunday on Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Enjoy your week. Be blessed, guys. Listen, I'm going to end it again like my grandfather used to have our church say. I have to live with myself and the things that I've done. And I don't want to come to the setting sun and hate myself for the things that I've done. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Okay, I'm a Christian counselor, and so I'm going to put this out there. Change, you can change. You can overcome. Remember that. Anything, it starts in your mind first. You just have to have clarity of thought and make that decision. I'm going to change and start implementing it one day at a time. You can start changing stuff one day at a time. I'll see y'all Sunday. Good night. Have a blessed week, guys. Bye-bye.